Now,
We're live?
we've
Sweet.
encoded 124 frames and counting.
Alright, so welcome to Intimate ZvX with Stoic, part number 5, game number 1. I'm Stoic Regret.
I am Stoic Nuvo.
Yep.
And right, first game is Stoic Regret versus cvgProxima. ZvT on Shikuris Plateau. And we will switch the scenes here. Okay.
Yep. Production tab names, blah blah.
Got it all up. Don't worry
All
about
right.
me.
10 seconds, say whenever.
3, 2, 1, play.
Alright.
Now, as we close in on 10 minutes, why don't you and I sync up again? Because I always seem to get pretty far ahead of you.
Yep. My computer doesn't lag. I think yours speeds up.
That's not accurate.
I know. It doesn't make any sense at all.
Just gonna turn up the game sound smidgen.
Alright, so here, just opening pretty standard. 9 Overlord, and then go up to 10 out of 10 drones. And then when this Overlord pops, you'll be able to build your first 2 drones. And then you'll hit 50 minerals, and you'll be able to build the third one. So, the only reason you should keep that in mind is because when you're doing your stacking with your drones, you should keep in mind how many drones you're about to have. So, as you saw just right there, if you watch that again, I knew that I was going to have 1 drone popping out, so I swapped 1 drone and stacked it with another drone on 1 mineral patch so that when the new drone popped out, it would go to a free mineral patch. It's just because there's nothing else to do during the game. If you do that, the newly made drone will not have to search for a mineral patch. It would just go to an empty one.
So how many extra minerals does that get you first?
Probably not that many. I don't think it matters.
If you don't do anything, I notice, like, usually if you don't do anything in terms of stacking, when you're building your pool at...
if you don't do anything at the beginning, then it can be 50 minerals easily.
Yeah, it's a lot, actually. And that's like when you're building your Overlord at 10 supply. I notice I have, like... Or no, when your 2 drones come out when your Overlord pops and you make them, usually if you don't do anything, you have like 95 to 100 minerals, you have enough, but if you do the drone stacking, you get like 120, 125.
Yeah, it becomes a luck thing if you don't drone stack, because hypothetically what can happen, because all the mineral patches can be filled, is the 2 drones can literally go to 1 and then the next and then the next and the next, and they can never find a mineral patch. So
okay, now this is something I hate as a Zerg. When I send that scout and he's already walled off with a depot and you've got no information, you don't know if he's gas or 2-raxing.
Exactly. So what I do in scenarios like this is I just I compensate by being equally as greedy. So the first thing I do in these scenarios is you're going to see usually I stop at 17 of 18. But I should, there I go up to 18 of 18, so I make this extra drone. So there's 2 scenarios this can go into. It's very unlikely that it's a 2-rax because of the timing of the first rax and the depot. So it's either going to be a 1-rax expansion with no gas or a 1-rax into reactor. So regardless of which one it is, I want to build as little Zerglings as I possibly can. So I see that he's building a bunker here, but I kind of feel like it's just kind of a fake out to get me to build something else. So I try to only build 2 Zerglings, and then I see that's going to stop, so I don't build anything else, so I just continue with drone production.
Okay.
So now I'm pretty sure it's not a 2-rax, especially if he lost the first Marine like that. Even if it was a 2-rax, it would be a very weak 2-rax. So now I just have to go scout with these 2 lings, and I'll know for sure. If he decides to wall this off with more barracks, then I'll know that he's 1-rax expanding. Or if I see more than 2 more Marines, I know that it's going to be probably not a Hellion build, because usually you have to stop to build a reactor onto the barracks. So I'm just going to go up with these split in case it dies. Okay, so now I see 3 raxes, so I know this is going to be a 1-rax expand into 3 raxes. So this is something interesting I like to do on maps like this. I like to try to be as greedy as I can economically. But you have to keep in mind that when you do really greedy builds, teching super late like I do, especially against Terran, you really have to be spot on with what unit composition he's going, because you can't exactly defend to everything. So, for example, if I knew he was going Hellions, and I built a 3rd base and didn't tech until 10 minutes, so I would have no mutas, no speed, no nothing, then I would pretty much have to have roaches to kind of stop that. Or if I knew he was just going to be massing a lot of Marines, then I would be able to put everything into just Banelings and Zerglings, and I wouldn't have to invest into Roaches. So that's basically what's going to happen in this game. I'm making the guess that because I saw so many Raxes that he's going to be at least on 4 Raxes, it wouldn't really make sense for him to put down a factory at this point, so I know the bulk of his army is going to be Marines. So I'm going to expand as early as I can and put all my gas deposit into making Banelings and Zerglings, and that's kind of my hope to defend all of his attacks with Banelings and Zerglings. And the worst case scenario is he goes Marines and gets early medevacs and starts dropping me, but at least with Banelings and Zerglings I can manage it by just spreading my army.
So you're spending your first gas here, first on speed, then a Baneling Nest right away.
Yeah, then a Baneling Nest,
and then
exactly.
Your next hunter is going to be Lair for Baneling speed? Or?
No, not Lair, I'm going to expand. That's what I mean, I'm doing a greedy economic build.
Ah, okay, so you're going to
really
tier 1 slow Banelings.
Yeah, exactly. But but hypothetically, if he's only going Marines, then I should be okay, because the unit combo that I have is okay. So here's a little bit of a mistake by me. My round of units was a little bit late. If everything was literally about a second earlier this game, I would be able to defend this no problem, because as you can see, if my Baneling Nest was done now, and I was morphing Banelings closer to my 3rd right now, this attack would have been really easy for me to stop. But unfortunately for me, not only do I mess up my rotation, but I miss him, because I actually don't move out because my Zergling at the bottom there, I scouted and I assumed that he went back to his base, so I just sat in my own base and said whatever, he backed off. But he actually stuck behind me, so this is really bad. Basically what I did is I planned to do a very low-tech economic build, so my layer tech was so delayed. And then what happened was he canceled my 3rd, so now I'm forced to sit on a very late layer tech, which is absolutely horrible. And now I'm having trouble taking my 3rd. So I have a slow tech with the goal of getting an early 3rd base, but I don't even have an early 3rd base. So this game is going to really showcase how I come back from way behind, because this is pretty bad. We're probably going to see him put down a 3rd really soon, and when Terran's 3rd is before the Zerg's 3rd, it's usually a really hard game. So I'm just trying to compensate. I know I cleaned this up, and I know that he's probably going to be teching behind this, but I know that at least he's going to be Marine heavy, so at least I feel quite safe. The only thing I have to watch for is maybe medevac drops. So I'm going to expand twice here, because too many minerals pulled up, obviously, from me pulling up resources to build a 3rd, but then it was cancelled, so I have way too much deposit. So I have enough here to double expand and even put down a macro hatch to kind of manage my resources. Now the problem here is if you look at the income tab, our worker counts are pretty much dead even, and my 3rd base is going to be super late, so even if I went up to 70 drones, it wouldn't take into effect until my 3rd base was up anyways. So this is a really bad scenario, because I know that he's probably going to be expanding behind this into his 3rd, which means his 3rd and my 3rd will be down at the same time, plus his meals and plus his SEV count will probably be higher, because I have to invest in units right now, because I have no idea what he's going to be attacking me with. So just a really bad scenario. I'm going into layer tech, but I do make some pretty okay decisions here. One of them is I do realize that I want to be going into layer tech, but a lot of people make the mistake of putting down, say, a layer tech or infestation pit or a hydra den, and then they kind of say to themselves, I have to use this. Like, I put down a spire, my first 1,000 gas, I have to deposit into mutalisk. You don't actually have to. There are rare scenarios where it's better just to kind of leave off on teching like that, especially when you're behind economically. So what I do this game is I see by the Zelnaga Cavern that he took his 3rd. So as you can see, my spire is about to finish, but I'm thinking to myself here, if I go into a normal game at this moment and go into Mutaling, Baneling, I will literally be playing from a huge economic deficit, especially because that's a planetary, as I just saw. And like me attacking to it non-stop is not going to work, especially because it's a planetary with tier 2 units. And me trying to harass him this late with mutalisks when he already clearly has way more Marines than he should have, because he had such an efficient trade-off at the beginning of the game, killing a whole bunch of my Zerglings and killing off my 3rd hatch, that it would just be it would be really difficult to actually get a useful meter harass at this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it up a little bit, do something a little bit more unexpected. I'm getting double upgrades on my melee units, and I'm going to sit here and kind of mass as many Zerglings as I possibly can. So my game plan here is basically to create such a powerful ground force that hopefully I can destroy one of his armies so efficiently that after that I can transition into maybe a normal Muta style composition. So what this will allow me to do is, a lot of the times when Terran gets ahead, they can attack you in windows where you're doing your Muta switch because your gas deposit is put into Mutas instead of Banelings. And Mutas necessarily aren't the best units to actually be fighting with. Their army value is not really that good in a straight up fight. They're more of a harassing unit. So instead of investing into harassing units, I'm investing purely into units that will just completely smash a push. Just build a ridiculous number of Banelings. And as you can see, I know that I'm going to have to remax this, so I use this opportunity of pooling up, see how much gas I have, and I'm going to go all the way to 78 drones now, and I'm probably going to even break 80 here. So now I know that without my mutas here, I have a few flaws in my game plan. That is, I'm very susceptible to drops. So at about the time I think he's going to have medevacs, you're going to start seeing me put down a lot of stationary defense at my far bases. Yeah, here. So I'm starting to build my spines, and at my main base I'm going to build lots of spines. 3 of them right there. So I'm going to try to max myself all the way to as much supply as I can while taking bases with this huge ground force, hopefully that he won't expect me to have this much ground force, because as you can see how I have 2400 gas, so I probably could have afforded 24 mutas here. But if you look at the units tab, he has 55 marines, 5 tanks, so that's hardly any tanks, because he invested so heavily in marines first, and 71 SCVs with 3 medevacs, so his army is pretty much built to kill mutas. We can even see in the production tab that he's not only upgrading Thor upgrades, but he even has a Thor up, plus 2 more medevacs. So if I had 24 mutas here, 24 mutas would be difficult for him to kind of manage if I was using them to harass, but in a straight up fight they would do terribly. 24 mutas against 1 Thor and 55 marines with good upgrades, because they're about to hit 2-2 now. Especially when he only has 5 tanks, they would be completely useless. So
you wouldn't even need to fight your mutas. If you use them harass, he'd just move in.
Yeah, he would just move in and I would die, because that supply of 24 would just be useless. But as you can see, I have nothing but a ground force here. And even though his army is so strong, you can kind of see how my decision here to just stay on the ground army kind of helps me a little bit. Like, this fight it looks like it goes really well for him, but the good part about this is my investment has never gone into mutas, so my remax value and my tech value can go into banelings a lot more easily than it would have if I went into mutas. So at this point, he can't really move out, because even though he has a lot more food than I do, a lot of it is in SCVs, and he doesn't actually have that many tanks. So if he moved out here with just a bunch of marines and that one random Thor with medevacs, he would die, because he kind of saw that I had nothing but a ground army here. So I use this opportunity now, because I don't feel like he can attack me, to finally put my huge deposit into mutas. And this is the good part. 17, 10, 11.
Yeah, tell me when you get to 25.
Okay. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, go.
Okay.
Alright, so what we're going to see here is how being a little unexpected with Zerg remaxes can really help. He hasn't seen mutas for a long time, but he has prepared for mutas because he knows that I went Spire Tech. But this huge remax value, so delayed, of blowing into just 20 mutas suddenly, is going to really throw him off guard. So I'm going to go into his base here, and you're going to see that he has defenses, but it's not going to be made for this many mutas. Because what happens is a player sometimes forgets that, at the beginning of the game, I'm going to build defenses for, say, 10 mutas, and then you don't see mutas for a long time, so you don't build any more defenses, and then I do a huge tech switch, and now I have double the amount of mutas that his defenses were prepared for. So actually these mutas are actually doing something now. So at this point, I know that it's going to be difficult for him to take a 4th, because I have creep at the upper right hand now. And if he wants to attack me, I'm maxed now with remax value, so I'm feeling fairly alright. So I'm going to continue to upgrade, and I put down my infestation pit. So now I have a very normal army composition. So here I just want to see if I can pick up as much as I can, like this. Picking up 3 tanks is absolutely huge. It's a little bit of a misstep by him, and as you can see, he's dropping me here, but those spine crawlers, my spine crawlers have paid off there. So that allowed me to save a few drones.
His upgrades are good, though.
Yeah, his upgrades are really good. But at this point, I basically just want to play to win economically, because I know his next base is going to be very difficult for him to take. So I'm going to I'm going to do everything I can to get the best possible engagement so that he can never take this base, and the game hopefully can go in my favor by me winning simply from him just running out of minerals. Because there's no way I can catch up to upgrades at this point in order to be 3-3 Marines.
You're both 2-2.
No, he's about to be 3-3. 3-3 is,
yeah, 3-3 is
like,
huge.
Absolutely devastating on Marines.
So
you have to...
What do you have to do then to combat that?
To combat that, ideally you want to be tier 3. You want to have a Broodlord Infestor or Infestor Ultralisk army. So here a little bit of a misstep by me, but it's not too bad. I do know that he's pretty much fully upgraded now, and he starts building defense in the middle of the map. Very smart on a map like Shakura's, because he knows we have to split the map. So if I want to attack him, I have to go through the center. So he's going to make it very difficult for me to actually attack him in this situation. So I just have to be as patient as I can. I'm going to try to engage here, get as much as I possibly can. He moves his Marines way back, so I kind of have to blow up on a few siege tanks and Thors. Not really ideal for me, but the good part about this is I do get a sense of what he has, and even though his upgrades are so superior to mine, and even though his units are so much stronger, he actually doesn't have that much, like as you saw when I kind of ran him down. So this kind of tells me that he's probably on anywhere from 75 to 80 SCVs, which is quite a high count. So the biggest misstep from him is if he was able to take another base and then even another base with that many SCVs and with this many upgrades, his upgrade advantage, he would be able to gas me out pretty easily, because it would be impossible for me to stop him. But these really minor things that he didn't really count on, like the Overlord in the top right corner that he never even bothered to send 1 Marine or 2 Marines to clear, is going to delay his third. And this is really helping me, because what's going to end up happening is if we engage again like we just did, even though he got the better end of it and my trade wasn't that efficient, he's not going to be able to remax, because that command center is not going to land for another 30 seconds, and then only till then will he be able to transfer SCVs, which will take a while to get there in the first place, or drop his mules there. And then it'll take another 10 to 20 seconds for that econ to kick in, and then another 20 to 30 seconds for him to actually use it and build army. So you can see my remax value is a lot higher at this point. I have a lot more minerals, and it's going to be extremely difficult for him to make the army that he has now, even though it's so deadly, but it's going to make it very difficult for him to make it again.
So you're just now going to tier 3 at 23 minutes 25 seconds, so you're kind of 1/3 of the way through it. But
yeah, I'm just managing my resources because I have so many bases I can afford to do.
Is it kind of late just because you've been on the back foot the whole game?
Well, it is late, but like I said, I have the resources to do it, and ideally I want tier 3 to face against this army, especially because I see that he has ghosts tier 2. So he's prepared for everything, but like I said, the way to win this game at this point is to force him to remake this army again, regardless of how badly my trade is. I just want him to remake this army, because he's not going to be able to remake it as well. So here I'm just trying to look for open windows, just snipe off a random medevac here and there. I got 2 there. Mutas are really good for positioning like that. It's very difficult for a Terran to be everywhere at once. Mutas are so much faster.
Always be active with your mutas if you're going to build them.
Yep. So 3-3 Marines can't even engage that, even though it was a small bunch. If they were 2-2, it'd be so different. That I can engage, but he backs off, trying to get a tank. See, just try to pick off as much as I can here and there. And I know that he's trying to take that base on the top right, so I really have to start engaging very soon. So here I'm going to go for it right now. And as you can see, I'm using my mutas in the back to snipe as many tanks as I can, because I just want to trade as efficiently as I possibly can and force him to remake everything. So this is really good for me. You can see that he has a ton of Marines left, but I managed to kill all of the tanks. So now, as you're going to see, you look at the resource count. Even though his Marines are so strong, like look, I can't even fight him here. I have to back off. But he has 100 minerals with 100 supply, and he has to remake 8 tanks. And I have 3,000 minerals. So by the time he remakes all of that, he's pretty much going to be dead. So instantly, I use this opportunity to send my lings to that base to try to stop mining as much as possible. And not even a bunker, not even a defensive structure here. Just prepared for mutas. So not even, I'm going to force him to pull SCVs here and repair. So pretty much he's mining on almost nothing right now. So I know for sure it's going to be almost impossible for him to remake that army again. So he gets me out of position here a little bit, but these lings have done pretty much all that they needed to do. And at this point I know that my mineral count simply is going to beat his. So I'm going to go back into mutas because a high meter count is basically what beats Terran when they are on the verge of losing because they can't mine anymore. Because it gives me the option of not only fighting him if I think I can take him, but it gives me the option of base racing him just in case. And base racing with mutas when he can't make his army again is really, really good because all you need is one good baneling hit, most of his marines die, and he can't actually defend and attack you at the same time on a map this big against this many mutas. So really, really good scenario for me, especially because he didn't think I would go into mutas. He continued to produce more tanks and marines, more of a baneling zergling counter, so he didn't bother to build that Thor. But me remaxing back into mutas is going to really hurt him because I'm going to attack his third base now, and there's absolutely nothing he can do. I mean, there's no way of him knowing I'm going to be here in 3 turrets against this many mutas. When they're upgraded, isn't going to do anything. So at this point, pretty much once I attack this base, it's going to be over. And he knows that, so he's going to make one last desperate attack to attack one of my bases. But at this point, I just need to trade off as inefficiently as possible just to get rid of whatever. So I even blow up my banelings consciously on the tanks because I know that he's going to have nothing. That's his last army, and that's it.
Yeah. Quite. Good game. Okay, that was episode 6, part 1.